What's going on, MMA fans? I'm back to do my UFC 96 review video. A decent night of fights for the most part. I'm going to go over the fights I did predictions on the main card, so let's go ahead and get right down to it. First fight of the night, Gray Maynard taking on Jim Miller. Pretty much a one-sided affair. Gray Maynard was able to come out, have good 1-2 combinations on the feet, good body shots, really just eating Jim Miller's face up. This fight did kind of go the way that I saw it, just with a different result. The fight had a lot of bright spots on the feet, some clinching. A couple bright spots on the ground where Jim Miller tried to get it down to the ground, was unsuccessful. Tried to pull guard, wasn't able to do so. It was just a 3-round shellacking, if you will, by Gray Maynard. And something that really impressed me about him in this fight, more so than his others, is just his ability to mix up his combinations. He looked really, really good in this fight. Was able to throw good 1-2 combinations, the good body shots, mixing it up. And he's definitely a guy to look out for at 155. So congratulations to Gray Maynard, and hopefully he looks good in his next fight. All right, on to the next fight. Matt Hamill taking on Mark Munoz. This one was one where many people did not see this outcome coming. It started out both guys, standing on the feet, throwing some combinations back and forth. Hamill looking for the clinch, trying to get the clinch, throwing some body shots against the cage. Munoz trying to push Hamill off, trying to throw some good 1-2 combinations himself. Munoz went for a couple takedowns. Hamill was able to stuff them. Against the cage, Matt Hamill throws, I believe it was a lead jab, and all of a sudden Munoz ducks his head, and Matt Hamill throws a high kick and knocks Mark Munoz out. Mark Munoz's head hits his knee, which if he wasn't out, as soon as his head hit his knee, he definitely was out, and was out cold. And Matt Hamill wins via a first-round knockout via a head kick out of nowhere. Wow. Matt Hamill, like I said, has continued to impress, and has continued to get better with his striking in each one of his fights, and this is a new tool to his arsenal that we have not seen, and definitely surprised a lot of people. So congratulations to him. Hopefully he'll continue to progress and get better, and hopefully we'll see him do well in his next fight. Alright, on to the next fight. Pete Sell taking on Matt Brown. I know this has been talked about by several people. I just got done watching the MMA analyst Carson's video. First of all, let me say something before I even break this fight down. Yves Levine, I don't know what he was looking at in this fight, and I don't know, and we can't really sit there and say when we haven't looked at the fight and we're not right there to be able to tell. If Pete Sell's, and this is something that has happened with a lot of stoppages, if Pete Sell's eyes rolled up into the back of his head, and that's what Yves Levine saw, you could justify him jumping in early, but, Matt Brown was getting ready to move in and finish that fight. I think if Yves Levine hadn't stepped in, and I'll get to what I'm talking about here in a second, but if Yves Levine hadn't stepped in, the fight would have been stopped. But nonetheless, Yves Levine steps in, says, oh, wait a minute, I made the incorrect call, and now I'm going to let the fight continue. And Pete Sell was kind of like, what? And he's all dazed and confused. You can't expect a guy that's dazed and confused when you let him back up after he doesn't know if the fight's stopped, if the fight's going, if you're here, if you're there, if you're not there, if you're here, everywhere. It just kind of progressed worse from there, where Matt Brown just pretty much put a kicking to Pete Sell, and then just demolished him on the ground, and Yves Levine let that go on for probably a tad bit too long before he stopped the fight. I don't know what else to say about this other than Matt Brown came out, looked very, very impressive. Pete Sell just did not have any good defense against any of Matt Brown's combinations. Pete Sell's boxing is definitely better than that. I don't know what his game plan was for this fight, but Matt Brown just came out, absolutely picked apart Pete Sell, and wins this fight via first-round TKO. These stoppages, with the way that we've seen some of these refs do this is something that's got to be corrected, and unfortunately, it was Yves Levine, who's one of the better referees, and it's funny, Carson said that Dan Mergliotta has plenty of time, and this is a true statement, has plenty of time to make a goof-up to combat what Yves Levine did on this night, because he is a very inconsistent ref. So, at least in my opinion. But nonetheless, Matt Brown wins this fight convincingly. Congratulations to him. Hopefully he comes out and looks good in his next fight. All right, on to the next fight. Gabriel Gonzaga versus Shane Carwin, and what would probably be one of the, at least in my opinion, top 20 comebacks in UFC history, just by the way that this fight went down. And you may disagree with me on that, but that's just how I looked at this. Gonzaga came out, was very aggressive, had good 1-2 combinations, was able to get a trip takedown, had Carwin in half guard from the top, was trying to work some jiu-jitsu, it looked like, wasn't able to do anything, let Carwin get back to his feet. And before this fight went down to the ground, Gonzaga rocked Carwin really good to set up the takedown that he got. This fight gets back up to the feet. Gonzaga tries to go for a right hook and gets beat by Carwin with a right straight with a lot of power and knocks Gonzaga senseless. Carwin finishes him down on the ground and wins via a knockout. Just the way this, if you saw the fight, you know what I'm talking about. The way that this fight transpired, Gonzaga was just putting a working on Carwin in that first 30 seconds. Rocked him, pushed him against the cage, tripped him for a takedown, was going for top position, maybe mount possibly, and then lets Carwin get up and knocks Gonzaga out. So congratulations to Shane Carwin. He persevered, showed a lot of heart. He's definitely a guy to look out for in the heavyweight division, and this guy is definitely for real. He's a guy you need to look out for. He's got knockout power, good wrestling. We haven't seen his submission defense tested as of yet, even though he does have a purple belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but we'll see how that plays out in his next fight, so congratulations to him. All right, on to the main event. A semi-decent main event. I mean, it had some bright spots. It had a couple good spots where both guys were exchanging, but both guys got gassed after the second round. Both guys looked like they were having some trouble in this fight, especially Rampage. He's definitely looked gassed after the second, and I really question whether or not this move to Wolf Slayer, as far as his conditioning is concerned, has helped him, at least with punishment. It may have not been the best training camp in the world for him, but Rampage had a very good conditioning program with Juanito Ibarra and some of the guys there at Punishment, and I don't know if he's getting the same treatment at Wolf Slayer. The level of Muay Thai and the level of maybe wrestling and some of those things may have increased at Wolf Slayer, but I don't know about the conditioning. I definitely think that is something he needs to go back and work on for his next fight. But nonetheless, this was 3 rounds of back-and-forth action. Jardine had some good leg kicks in this fight, had some good combinations. Had a couple spots where he had Rampage against the cage rocked a little bit, but Rampage, while he looked a little lackluster, had some good combinations. Threw some leg kicks, which he hasn't been doing in his last couple fights. He did more of in this fight. Kept throwing good jabs, good 1-2s. Had a couple good right hooks and a couple good left hooks, where he actually rocked Jardine pretty good. I think one was in the first and one was in the third. And he definitely knocked down Jardine at least 2 or 3 times in this fight as well. And definitely, I think, in some of the exchanges, had the better combinations, so at least in my opinion. But for the most part, this was all Rampage. He had good combinations on the feet. The first round was questionable about who you could have scored it to, but in the second and the third, Rampage did well on the feet, had a couple takedowns in the second and the third, was working the good 1-2 combinations, had the knockdowns, and he goes on to win a unanimous decision, so congratulations to him. He'll be going on to fight Rashad Evans. And Keith Jardine looks like he might be having a matchup with Forrest Griffin next. That looks like that might be the next possible fight for him in a rematch, so we'll see how that plays out. But congratulations to Rampage. Hopefully he'll look good in his next fight, and that will be against Rashad Evans for the UFC Light Heavyweight Championship. And that fight will be in place of Frank Mir versus Brock Lesnar, due to the fact that Frank Mir injured his knee. So, those were that was my review of UFC 96. I'll leave some comments, constructive, negative, positive as always. Make sure to check out my sponsors on this side in the description side of the video. And on that note, you guys, have a great day.